All that stuff in the Bible is true. There's not one word which is just metaphors, blah. You know, everything there is true. And that's the greatest love there is. Teach somebody to get there. Certain things made, you know, are strong in Western Christianity that Buddhist people now could use. And certain things are strong in Eastern Christianity that Western Christians could benefit from. So we're going to go through those, okay? And on the way we'll talk about the historical links. You know, how do you prove this historically? How do you trace the footsteps of Thomas through India and then as it goes into Tibet? 11 go north and west, right? And then one of them, Thomas, he walks to India, okay? He walks to India and he starts teaching. In Taxila, which is where Alexander the Great met the yogis, right? In Taxila, he meets a king named, what's his name? What's that? Anyway, Gasper is the Latin, okay? Gondophoros in Greek. Anyway, this turns out to be one of the three wise men, okay? 40 years later, okay? And he's one of the three kings. He meets him here in Taxila, he builds a temple for him, and he starts teaching what Jesus taught. Western Christianity can get a vitamin supplement from the old Eastern Christianity as it entered Tibet, you know, 1,000 years ago. And there are practices, exciting stuff, you know, like, I think of meditation or wisdom, certain ways of viewing the world. These are really exciting, and they were part of Jesus' teachings, and they're there. But you don't really grasp them because the living tradition, the oral tradition died out. You see what I mean? In the West, there's Tibet. And Ladakh is this weird little kingdom between Tibet and India. It's going to be important later, okay? We have strong evidence that Jesus may have come to Ladakh, okay? And we'll talk about it. We have a team of people there now, and they're digging out old manuscripts and things like that. Learned all of the methods that the Tibetans teach people. And I didn't become a monk for almost 10 years. I just wanted to know the practices. I wasn't so interested in the appearance, you know. And but they trained me very nicely, very well. And it's a long process in the monastery. It's about 20 years. And very beautiful training, very, very nice training. And then I would constantly be thinking, oh, this is what Jesus meant, you know? Every time I learned some new thing, it's like, wow, this is what Jesus meant, you know? Or, this is how Jesus walked on water, you know? Or this is how you meet an angel. Or, you know, they train you. They have like course number 14, how to meet an angel. Christie's my partner. Once you finish advanced studies in the monastery, you're encouraged to have a partner and go further. Which you can do with a partner, spiritual partner. And we'll talk about that, I think, on the last day. Not so much a physical partnership or an economic partnership, but a practice, a spiritual partnership, which is also a very beautiful idea that has been a big part of the Eastern part of the family, okay? You are not far now from the kingdom. You see what I mean? Kingdom of heaven is not some like thing you might get to if you die right or something like, it's not like that. All throughout the New Testament, Jesus is saying, you're just about there. Man, few more days you're there, you know? You are just about to break into that realm, you know? And people do, and people have. And that's what religion is to teach you how to break into that realm. In the beginning was the Word. Was it in arche? Hen hologos, in Greek. Okay, in the beginning was the Word. Somehow, that first line of John, the Gospel, Kata Ioannem, the Gospel according to John, somewhere in that line is the chariot thing. Okay? Somewhere in the first line of John's Gospel is the thing about the chariot, and somehow that can enable you to do anything you want.
It's not coming from the object. It's not coming from here to us. There's something going on in our interaction with every single object that we ever come across that's coming from our minds. and that's identifying it in a certain way. And because it's not coming from the object, because it's coming from our own mind, it's infinitely changeable. It can be anything. You know, it has infinite possibilities. And that's why we call it the key.
And it's this big contradiction in our lives, you see. You can't reconcile it, and you walk around crazy. You're crazy. You know? No, everyone's unhappy. You can't be happy unless you work this first contradiction. This is just the first one. You know? You can't be happy unless you figure out, you face this contradiction. They are selling you something, and then you have to lose it. They're telling you work your whole life for something that you must lose. You know? So why? And then you live in this contradiction, and you don't feel happy. So we're selling this as like a way to be happy, right? Like face your death. What the saint, Jain saint, said to Alexander the Great, you're going to die. You don't own any more of the dirt than we do. You know what I mean? And you have to face your death. So there's a meditation on death. It's very powerful. And Jesus said it, the quotation here from Jesus is, you know, don't store up your treasures on earth, where moth corrupt and, what's the other half?
Rust destroys.
And rust destroys. You're going to lose it anyway. You know, store up your stuff somewhere else. Store up heavenly, because where your stuff is,
Treasure is.
there your heart will be. The key word here is kathos, as I loved you. You see, he repeats himself. And you have to think about that. What does he mean? Why doesn't he say, just love each other, okay? See ya. You know, it's not like that. He's like, love each other, but love each other as I loved you, okay? And this is the third kind of love. The idea is, let's bring it back together. You know, both sides, both branches. It'd be really exciting, right?
We celebrate this season of the gift of the Spirit to the disciples who abandoned their fears and went out to be the church, uniting people of many tongues in the words of Jesus, preaching the gospel to all nations. The bread of heaven, food for the journey. The bread of heaven, food for the journey. The bread of heaven, the food for the journey.